Okay, so for this first one, and the first thing we're going to talk about today, is we're going to talk about quadratic proportions. So at the top of your notes, if you just want to label this quadratic proportions, and the reason why this is a quadratic proportion is because this is a proportion with this because it's two fractions that are equal, and it's quadratic because when we multiply these things together, we're going to end up getting a quadratic. So if you remember proportions, how you set up proportions is you cross multiply. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply this with this, and we're going to multiply this with this. So we'll get x minus 5 times x plus 3 is equal to 4 times negative 3. And when we multiply this out, it becomes a double distribution situation. So that goes to there, that goes to there, this goes to there, and this goes to there. When I multiply that out, that should give me x minus x squared plus 3x minus 5x minus 15 is equal to negative 12. Now we can combine some of this stuff. These two, since they're the same, can be combined. So I would get x squared minus 2x. And this negative 12 could be combined over here by adding 12 to both sides. I get equals negative 3 equals 0. So that would be my problem. And from here, we want to figure out what x is equal to. And so we have a quadratic, and we have a couple different methods we could do. One method we could try would be completing the square. And that wouldn't be a bad method to use because that is an even thing, so completing the square works pretty nicely when your b term is even. We could try solving, but that's not going to work because we have a b term. Or we could try factoring or quadratic formula. We're going to take some things off our list. Solving's bad because it's got a b term. Completing the square could be nice. Quad formula, since it doesn't have any a term out here, it's probably nicer to use factoring or completing the square. I'm going to use factoring because I know what this thing factors into really, it factors into really nice things. So when I see this right here, I can see that this should factor pretty nicely, and it will factor into x times x, and then negative 3 and negative 1, or positive 1. And you could check this real fast. X times x will give me x squared, negative 3 plus 1 will give me negative 3, and negative 3 plus 1 will equal negative 2. So we are good. And now I just have to split it up to figure out what they both are. Add 3, so x equals 3. That's one answer, and the other answer is x equals negative 1. So those are my two answers. We're going to try one more example. Here's my second example. And as you can see, again, it's a proportion because it's two fractions that are equal. And we'll see why it's going to be quadratic in a second. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to cross multiply. So that'd be 3x times 3x equals 7 times 28, which will give me 196. So that was 7 times 28. They got me there. 3x times 3x will be 9x squared. And this time, when I have some choices, I'm going to use solving. So that's going to be the method that I use. And I'm going to use solving because this thing has no b term. So when I solve, first, do not square root. So don't square root because you have this 9 in front. Get rid of the 9 first. So we're going to divide by 9, divide by 9. I'll get x squared is equal to about 21.8. Then I'm going to square root. Now that x is equal to a positive and a negative side, so let me split that up, which will be positive 4.7 and negative 4.7. So those would be my two answers there. So remember, in these problems, first thing you want to do is cross multiply, just like we did here. After you cross multiply, you're going to get a quadratic, and you'll just solve the quadratic from one of the 4 different methods, either solving, quadratic formula, factoring, or completing the square. So try a couple of these problems.